telling about adjudicated basins and making people understand where we're at. But the whole idea of my experience, Jim, because I'm trying to get to your question before you do this, is that I can guarantee you, if I bring an issue to staff, there's no way in the world, with my experience in government, that staff's going to bring something back that has their own agenda on it that doesn't meet what I was looking for. I will review that document. I will sit down with the town manager. I will sit down with the staff that wrote it, and make absolutely sure what finally gets presented to the town council, my request as an agenda request, does meet what I was looking for. And if it doesn't, let me tell you, I will be extremely vocal about it. Because if I'm going to bring an agenda item forward, I expect it to reflect what I'm looking for. I hope that helps, Jim.
A minority report would be very helpful, because you need to look at all sides. That's one thing I learned as a lawyer. You've got to look at all sides. Now, one thing though, that anytime I would get a staff report, I would look at it according to a standard. John Locke was the most influential person when it came to the founding fathers and their writing of the Constitution and the Declaration. And he said, the chief end of government, the chief responsibility of government is the protection of property rights. Whether that's real property, personal property, intellectual property, that is the main purpose of government. So when I would get a staff report, I would look at it and say, first of all, is this a government obligation that they're supposed to be involved in the first place? If they're talking about, something that is clearly not our responsibility, I would say, no, then we need to change this particular ordinance. I'm big on ordinances. We've got to get rid of a lot of these ordinances that are not government responsibilities. We have become a nanny state here. You can't do anything without the government saying it. When I was 16, my parents had twin girls. My mom was 43, my dad was 49. We are all full blood. On the way home from the hospital, my brother held one, I held one of the twins, and our other little sister sat in the back seat. We had no seat belts, and we made it home okay. And all of us are still alive today, but no, the government says, no, that's dangerous. Okay, Jackie had mentioned the cats. Hold it. Where does the government get off telling me how many animals I can keep as long as I keep control of them? If I had one dog, it could get out and bite somebody. So it isn't the number, but hold it. The government doesn't have the right to snoop into my house and my bedroom and tell me what I can and cannot do. So that is the way I would evaluate every report, and whether or not it is the responsibility of the government in the first place, and try and eliminate government and get our freedom back.
Thank you.
All right. Minority reports. I might as well stand up. Actually, the town does do that on occasion. When they write reports, they write pro and con on it. That being said, there's almost as many factions in town government, town hall, as there are people. A lot of different opinions. A lot of people go different ways. Usually gets batted about, but one of the things I see that I really don't like is the fact that there's only a handful of us that actually attend that aren't government on a regular basis. Since I started doing this 3.5 years ago, there's about 5 of us, maybe 10, that regularly show at town council meetings. Yeah, there are minority reports in some form. Might be done better, but yeah, the problem is there's a lot of factions out there, and you got to be able to sort your way through
them. This is a little different. Most of you know that I'm a retired subcontractor. I've been in various businesses, worked for the cement plant, was foreman for many years, and been here since I got an invitation I couldn't refuse from President Truman saying, sorry, you're back on active duty, go to Victorville. So, but one thing in Apple Valley, we started out at Apple Valley Ranchos. I remember the first restrictions where you had to be the right color and religion and all that sort of thing. But we've gone beyond that. We're going to have to go to a balanced city where we no longer cater only to the very middle and high-end home. We're going to have to establish areas where, even where people, if you're a truck driver and you've got your own truck, place where you can bring your tractor at least and have it sit there. But they have to be done with uniformly. We can't just do that haphazardly. So we must get to some sort of balanced operation where we have exports as well as imports. We're not just a bunch of retailers.
And I'll speak to that too. One of the most important things the city council can do is look at zoning regulations, and that's exactly what you're talking about. I can take my piece of property here, it's 2 acres, it's a little bit on the fringe, I can park a big RV, which RVs we can park anywhere, but I put my tractor, my trailer, my dump truck. Those are things that when you get a zoning issue in front of you, and you also have a planning commissioner to help you, but you really, really need to make sure that you've studied all the issues and look at it. But I agree with you completely. If we're going to be an all-service community, I don't know if most people know this, but we have 200 square miles in our sphere of influence. That is the possibility of a gigantic city. We have a lot that we can do, but we have to make sure we're planning smart and quality and well-planned community.
I'm glad you brought up about the trucks, because I know somebody that, a truck driver. Don't we want businesses in Apple Valley? Then why put ordinances that discourage that? I personally know of a man who was coming in home late, driving a tractor trailer. He had to get up real early in the morning. He parked it in front of his place. He gets up the next morning early to leave, and there's a ticket because he's not supposed to be parking there. Now, this really is an incentive to bring businesses into Apple Valley. That ordinance has to change. There has to be more freedom given to businesses and individuals if we want to grow. We want to try and be independent. But you know, I'll tell you, people talk about the independence of our town council. Every time I've been to a town council meeting, every single vote has been unanimous. Well, then that means that 4 of them are superfluous. We only need 1. So let's just elect the king of Apple Valley if they're always in complete agreement. Hold it, that's wrong. We're supposed to have people of opposing views, but if everybody's marching in lockstep, of course, this is one reason why there's a groundswell movement to recall the current Apple Valley Town Council. I don't know if you've seen any of the demonstrations, but it's happening. They want to get rid of the 3 that are up for election in 2 years because they don't like what's going on with the Agenda 21 implementation, stuff like that. But we've got to be more friendly to our people that live here and get government off our backs.
I think that you're absolutely right. And again, it goes back to what you're saying. We need a checks and balance system. Don't just give someone, like Iver said, a ticket. You know what? Maybe it's time we get off of this and we go out and maybe knock at the door and say, how long has this truck been here? Or do a little investigation and talk and see if we can't work something out or find a central idea that would help that particular type of people, like truckers. Same thing with people with too many animals. Or everything needs a little bit more of a checks and balance, not to run you, but to discuss and see what can be done to help you out as a person, as a townsperson, and make it more acceptable to everybody and make it easier to live without being a police state.
Looked at a map of the zones of Apple Valley. We only have 22 different zones you have to meet to be able to do anything in any area in Apple Valley. Micromanagement in overkill. 22. We could cut that in half, probably nobody even noticed. Again, everybody here seems to be talking about code enforcement. There must be something to it. A little too much government. I'd like to thin it out a little bit. Thank you.
Okay, and one more. Oh. Wait, Lisa.
I don't really want a semi in front of my house, but this question's kind of for Art, I think, of anybody. I don't like the new thing that came out, and it doesn't affect me actually, but it's a $150 fire fee that is being assessed to people. I don't think it's right. And I do believe that we do have an issue between the police and the firemen and their pensions and what we're paying them, whether here in this city or any other city. What are we going to do before it becomes a problem and we are going to go bankrupt paying those pensions? How are we going to cut those down and really pay what we're supposed to be paying in an economy like this and quit charging people for things that we shouldn't be paying for?
Mike, thank you so much. Our governor, love him dearly, imposed a fire fee, which is in reality a fire tax, when under Prop 218 and Proposition 22, should have gone to the voters. You should have voted 2/3 to implement it. Meanwhile, I got 2 bills on properties that I don't even have homes on any longer. They've been down for 30 years. And oh, can I say this? Anyway, talk to me afterwards and I'll tell you whether or not you should pay it. But,
I don't have one.
oh, but it's completely wrong. The governor's wrong. The governor is drastically wrong. He took $50 million away from CAL FIRE and he's trying to make the $50 million up. By the way, a little clue, the governor didn't include the $8.5 million it was going to take to do all the paperwork annually. Because the state controller, tax man, said, I won't send the bill because it's not a legal tax. You got me going. And so that upsets the line. Pensions are next. The governor put together a 12-point plan on pension a year and a half ago. It was going to resolve all the problems of this state. By the way, Arnold tried to do it about 6.5 years ago. So here comes the governor. I've got this plan. He publicized it. People put their budgets to it. It was a perfect plan. It was going to solve our problems. State employees and their unions jumped in the middle of it. And the 12-point plan went down to a 2-point plan, which, to be honest with you, was absolutely nothing. It is going to take the people of the state of California, which the city of San Jose and the city of San Diego have done the same thing so far, to really take a hard look at pensions. And I'll be glad to talk to you because it's a pet peeve. Pensions will break the back of this state. And one more thing real quick. State of Rhode Island. Now, state budget, $8 billion. State pension deficit, $8 billion. That was a very liberal Senate and Assembly, and they finally said, we've got to change it, and they did. If there's a will, there's a way. I'm sorry, Cindy.
First of all, regarding having an 18-wheeler parked in front of your house, you have the right not to have that. But if it's parked across in front of your neighbor's who's a trucker and you're asleep most of the time, it's his property. It's his property. If he parks it in front of your place, you've got a right to call the police. But it's your property to do with what you want without government interference or without your neighbor's interference. And if he does, you've always got the law to go in and protect you. But the neighbor has the right to do that. As far as pensions go, you know, right now with the pensions, it is like trying to turn the Titanic on a dime. You can't do it. You can't do it. People that have pensions right now have been relying upon those pensions. This was their contract of employment, part of their contract. You cannot just all of a sudden cut it, because that is their property right, their contractual right that the law is supposed to protect, okay? And now the law is cutting it, so the law is infringing on their contractual rights. So what you've got to do on anything like this, you've got to start with people that are 20 or 30 and say, okay, we're changing the rules for new hirees only, okay? And do it that way. Whether it's Social Security, whether it's Medicare, whether it's a pension plan, you cannot just cut these people off because they have planned their whole future on that. So we've got to turn it around, but we've got to start with younger people and get government out of our lives, make us more responsible for our lives. So there's no quick fix on the pension plan. Our government has already caused the mess, but you cannot hurt the people by just cutting it off right now like the government is doing.
Well, I believe in the pension plan too as art, because my husband is a retired fire chief from the federal government. So we like that pension. So I do believe, again, it's a checks and balance. There's got to be a way to look into something. You can't affect those now. It would hurt us. But the youngers, yes, you can talk, but you need to set something in motion for the future to find out. But there are other ways to cut. I mean, my gosh, have you looked at your mail lately? I mean, just a credit card company says, oh, well, we want to offer you this. How much money are we paying or how much interest, 0.5%, 1/4% higher on our interest rate on a credit card, because they've got to cover their mailing expenses to send us this garbage